Excellencies, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to thank the mission of Argentina, Ecuador, Liechtenstein, the Netherlands, Norway, Senegal, Sierra Leone and Spain for allowing me to address you today on the crucial role of international criminal justice in achieving Sustainable Development Goal 16. As Mr. Ambassador Renavesi said, I am Margareta Cederfelt, member of the Swedish Parliament, as well as President of Parliamentarians for Global Action. PGA is the largest global network of more than 1,300 individual members of parliament in more than 130 parliaments around the world. We take collective, coordinated and cohesive actions to advocate for human rights and the rule of law, democracy, human security, non-discrimination and gender equality. On International Justice Day, the international community commemorates the adoption of the Rome Statute and the International Court on the 17th July 1998, as well as the activation of the ICC jurisdiction over the crime of aggression since the 7th of July 2018. It is paramount to underline that we have a permanent court capable of investigating and prosecuting individuals responsible for the commission of international crimes, namely genocide, crimes against humanity, war crimes, and the crime of aggression. In the past few days, I have participated in meetings on Sustainable Development Goal 16 at the margins of the PGA Executive Board meetings. I mention PGA's board meeting because the board is composed of 15 members of the parliament from all regions of the world. We are actively working on our own countries to foster political will to strengthen the domestic legal order, increase the capacity of jurisdictional actors, and oversee the actions of our governments to ensure that it is tackling pertinent priorities. Having interacted with my colleagues over the past days, I feel hopeful for the future. I feel hopeful for the parliaments all over the world. Hopeful because my stakeholders, including parliamentarians, are taking concrete steps to further the implementation of SDG 16 in our respective countries, which inter alia aims to promote the rule of law at the national and international levels and ensure equal access to justice for all. Access to justice for all means accountability, which is a prerequisite for peace and stability, development and effective protection of human rights. As we all know, there is no lasting peace without justice, and no justice as long as there is impunity. And I will also say here, to have justice and long-lasting peace, there need, of course, also to be negotiation between countries, and this means also the involvement of women. In this regard, the ICC is an essential tool to end cycles of impunity, violence, and atrocity. However, despite having been a reality for more than 2 decades, the court now faces some of the greatest existential threats to its history. Those who would preserve impunity for the most serious crimes that shock consistency of humanity, perpetrated misinformation and seek to evade the court jurisdiction. Now, more than ever, the ICC and the projects of international crime justice is represented needs champions. The parliamentarians who comprise PGA's international networks are in the forefront of the fight to ensure that international justice prevails. The victims' rights are respected in every corner of the globe, and that all law-abiding nations join the Rome Statute system. They recognize that in order for justice to prevail, states have to implement the crimes and principles under the Rome Statute in their domestic legal orders. In compliance with the principle of complementary cornerstone of the Rome Statute, parliamentarians play a key role. Members of Parliament have to be passed the legislation and call our governments to uphold our country's international commitments as well as the national ones while respecting the human rights of all. I call on each state to represent by many of out here today, as well as my parliamentary colleagues, not only make statements to promote justice and the rule of law, but also to act to ensure justice as a reality for all, and that domestic institutions and democratic governance are strong. In a world deeply troubled, where in certain countries violence is the main language of governments and non-state actors, the international community has to gather its strength to support oppressed population and ensure accountability for individuals who have committed international crimes. And without such efforts, there will be no peace, no justice, and without peace and justice, there can be no sustainable development and inclusive societies. On 11th April 2019, we welcomed the stepping down and arrest of the Sudan of President Omar al-Bashir, instigated by the civilian opposition who denounced the illegality and the illegitimacy of the 2015 election of Mr. Bashir. Since then, the global PGA membership is continuing to demand that Sudan immediately surrenders to the ICC Mr. al-Bashir and all other individuals charged with the genocide, crimes against humanity, or war crimes in Darfur, so that the course of justice for the victims of atrocities might finally take place. PGA has been the first international NGO to make such a strong call to the transnational authorities of Sudan, while PGA also urged all parties in Sudan to embark in the restoration of democracy based on separation of power under the rule of law, centered on institutional reforms to reinstate the checks and balance within a peaceful Sudanese state. But the impunity of Mr. al-Bashir must be put to an end, and his regime has been fueling bloody armed conflict within and outside the Sudan, including in the Central African Republic, Democratic Republic of Congo, Northern Uganda, and South Sudan. In this respect, our global membership welcoming the important judgment of the ICC Appeals Chamber on 6 May 2019. The judge, including the President of the Court, who is with us today, unanimously recognized the sitting heads of the state do not have immunity from arrest when they travel to a state part to the Rome Statute if there is a valid ICC arrest warrant against them for genocide, crimes against humanity, war crimes, and aggression. There are the most serious crimes of concerns to the international community as a whole, and there should be no legal obstacle to arrest and surrender the alleged perpetrators regardless of their rank or official position. We are all equal before the law, as affirmed in customary international law since the Nuremberg judgment of 1946. International Justice Day provides us with an opportunity to dedicate ourselves to the pursuit of international justice. On this day, PGA members unite to put an end to the crimes that threaten peace, security, and the well-being of the world, and commit to utilizing their full legislative and political prerogatives in the fight against impunity, calling upon others to join us. Since the last International Justice Day, legislators across Latin America have demonstrated their commitment through concrete action by ratifying Kampala amendments on the crime of aggression. More than 200 parliamentarians from the Americas, the Asia Pacific, Africa, Europe have committed plans of action. And in some countries that may soon join the Rome Statute, including Kiribati in the Pacific and Ukraine in the Eastern Europe, PGA members are in the forefront of the struggle of the universality of the Rome Statute system. And in this respect, we call upon all state parties to re-energize their efforts to bring about an increased membership in the ICC system against impunity. It's time for action, and each of us has a role to play. Thank you very much, Mr. Ambassador.
Thank you.